I could count like 5 countries that play better football than Nigeria right now in Africa. If I start with Morocco, they play better football. Morocco is like the best African team for me. What these guys? Senegal play better football than Nigeria. Algeria play better football than Nigeria. Which other country? I could say Cote d'Ivoire. Ivory Coast, they play better football than Nigeria. Egypt play better football than Nigeria. I've counted 5 countries, and these countries all play better football than Nigeria. The Super Eagles are out of the World Cup, and this is the second time they're not going to be in the World Cup in 2 straight years. The last time we blamed it on Ghana. You remember the match they had at in Abuja that Nigeria was supposed to win, and they drew the game, and the fans went haywire, went out of control, started destroying things in the stadium. Yeah, that was what happened last 4 years ago, and now we thought things could get better, and here we are. The Super Eagles are not going to be in the World Cup yet again. Really, it's all this giant of Africa. What actually makes a country a giant? I'm thinking in football, Nigeria is no longer a superpower in football, African football. Nigeria is not. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Nigeria is no longer. Listen, the power has shifted. I could count like 5 countries that play better football than Nigeria right now in Africa. If I start with Morocco, they play better football. Morocco is like the best African team for me. What these guys? Senegal play better football than Nigeria. Algeria play better football than Nigeria. Which other country? I could say Cote d'Ivoire. Ivory Coast, they play better football than Nigeria. Egypt play better football than Nigeria. I've counted 5 countries, and these countries all play better football than Nigeria. So what makes us giant of Africa? What makes us giant or powerhouse of African football? It is not by having players in Europe here and there. The players we have in Europe, most of them are even bench warmers. How many of those players start for their team? I'm trying to be factual. I'm not even going to try to be emotional or biased about this. How many of those Super Eagles players actually starts for their team? In fact, how many Super Eagles players start for a team in the top 5 European league? The top 5 European league, Premier League, Ligue 1, Bundesliga, La Liga, and La Serie A. These five leagues. How many Nigerian Super Eagles players are starters in their teams? Osimhen is playing for Galatasaray. Galatasaray is not even in the top 5 European leagues. Turkish league is not there. How many? From goalkeeper, a goalkeeper plays in South Africa. So I think we are trying to overrate ourselves. The people I could call the superstars in that team is actually Iwobi and Bassi. Iwobi and Bassi, they are regular starters for Fulham, a Premier League club. Iwobi and Bassi, they are the players that have the highest exposure. The other ones are doing well, well in their clubs. Don't get me wrong, but are they the kind of players we actually need to turn things around? Are they? Listen, we can be emotional or we can be biased or talk with all different levels of prejudice as much as we want, but the truth must be told. If you come to Senegal, you see area of stars who are playing. Come to Egypt. Egypt could even have players who are home-based players, and they'll still deliver. Morocco could have players who play in their local league, and they'll still deliver. So where does the problem span from? It spans from the administration, NFF. It spans from these guys. These guys, they are the fulcrum. In fact, they are the nucleus of the problem. They are the actual nucleus. They are the reason Nigeria is lagging behind. These guys, they refuse to develop the national league, the NPFL. Since I was small, since I was a toddler, when I used to hear all this Nigerian Football League. Do you know how old I am now? And Nigerian Football League is not yet being televised. You can't watch it. What made Premier League popular? It is the television. How can you have sponsors into your league without having the league televised? How are the sponsors going to sell their market or sell their brand? Premier League is the most televised league in the world. That's why they have the biggest money, the biggest sponsors when it comes to Premier League, because almost every country watches Premier League. So the NPFL now, you have all these players there. You don't even groom them well. You don't have standard for your pitch. You don't have standard for your referees. You don't have everything. Just anyhow, anyhow. So the problem: how many Nigerian referees blow for CAF competition? I'm not talking about World Cup. Blows for African Cup of Nations. It could have James of Africa. How many of Nigerian referees blow for African Cup of Nations? You know why? You don't have anyone playing for World Cup, but you could have a Somalian referee, you can have a Cameroonian referee, you can have a Zambia referee, you can have a Tanzania referee blown at the World Cup, but a Nigerian referee will not go close to the World Cup. Why is that? I'm not gonna mind what. See, I've watched. Is it Zambian League? One day, Zesco, something Zesco. It should be Zambian League. I've watched Zambian League. It's on television. Zambia, their league is on television. The league have more exposure than the NPFL. The only time the Nigerian league came close to having continental exposure or global exposure was when Enyimba won the Cup of Nations twice, back to back. That was when they beamed satellite on the Nigerian league. How many players, we as Super Eagles, but how many players are playing in the Nigerian league? How many of them do we know? The media representation of this league is zero. The media representation of that league is zero. So you have to build from the grassroots. You can't just invite players here and there and there. Build from the grassroots. Nigeria has an array of talent scattered all over the place. Go around, scout for this talent, build from the grassroots. If not, the coach will do his worst, his best. The coach will do his best. But can you imagine which team have you seen that before the game? Do you know before Nigeria played Gabon, the players went on strike? Before Nigeria Super Eagles played Gabon, the players went on strike. So, what kind of mindset are you going to carry into the game? You're playing, they're going to owe you. They won't pay your allowances, they won't pay your bonuses. Why? What do they do with the money then? If you can't pay the players, if you can't pay the piper, so who's going to play the music? This is outrageous. I'm telling you, this is outrageous. The NFF has to do better.